Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to some more Fire Emblem Hopes. Fire Emblem Engage. Hopes 5 hopes for Fire Emblem Engage, and we are up to number 3 at this point in the playlist.
It really
So
sucks that there was a three hopes kind of game, so now we're just gonna be confused.
now we are actually up to 3 hopes.
Now we are, yes.
Fire Emblem Warriors Engage 3 hopes. Oh god, I hope they don't make a game like that.
I need you to stop talking. Well, the Tokyo Mirage session. Remember?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, did you forget?
Right, I forgot about that game.
Don't worry, everybody did.
All right, so we are up to number 3. So Alex, do you want to go first, or will I actually?
I've gone first the past 2 times, haven't I?
Yes, I do believe so.
Did you want to say anything first? Because otherwise, I think I have mine.
I can go if you want to collect your thoughts actually.
You know what? Take your time. Let's switch it out.
Okay, so I'll go first.
Yes.
Okay, so first up is me, and the reason why I actually chose the expansion pass trailer in this video is because I'm really hoping that they actually make the I'm actually hoping that they do make the DLC worth $30, because in my opinion I felt like that Three Houses DLC was not worth $30. In my opinion, it felt anywhere worth like 10 to 15 in my opinion. So I'm really hoping that the DLC for this game is justified. So far for the first wave, I do feel it's justified though, because they are definitely giving us content compared to what Three Houses did with its first wave, which was just a hat and a costume for Byleth. Whereas
Listen,
here, they're giving
if you want the DLC to be less, just use the silver card. Then you can cut it by half.
Oh yeah,
wait.
you're right. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be getting a silver card, so what I can do is that. But what I really don't like about this is that how each wave is divided up, and apparently you can't just buy each DLC pack separately.
Kind of like how so you can't buy them separately, you gotta buy the whole thing?
Yeah, you have to buy the whole thing for $30.
You gotta buy the whole thing just like how it was at Three Houses?
Yeah.
Ain't that a fun little thing?
Like seriously, I think if what they could have done, which if they wanted to actually like make this DLC more appealing, make the DLC waves like $8 each, and then like basically just like offer it or like nine or $8 each, and then like offer it all together at 30 at like a discounted price.
You're basically talking about what they did with the fighters packs.
Yes, because that was a smart initiative. But here, this is not
a very smart thing to do, because anybody who picks that character, anybody who likes that character and played the game would get that character straight up. They wouldn't be bogged down by, oh, well, I don't want to like get it because of this character. Well, if I'm just buying it for this, but I don't like the other four.
And I feel like this is a similar strategy, because here they're literally offering us like Tiki and the Three Houses Lords as rings, so I feel like that it would work perfectly with this format actually.
Probably, but I feel then that it's like, okay, you like have the silver card, like you have all the other shit that's going on that people probably aren't going to be as big fan of. It's like, because we weren't for start, which we're not indicative of that, but we're taking that at face value, and also just from what we have like read from the community so far, it's like there's mixed feelings about this. Obviously, starting with the fact that it's DLC for Fire Emblem, it's never really gone over great, but they got to be careful with this essentially. So splitting it up wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Again, I agree with you. I think that the fighters pack and the way that they marketed it was a genius idea, because it didn't force anybody into a corner. It gave them the freedom to pay for what they want to pay for.
I only bought the first wave, and then I just bought Sora actually.
I bought the first wave, I think the second wave. I forgot to buy the third wave, which is actually really good.
There is no third wave. It's just 1 and 2.
I thought there was. I'm stupid. I didn't get the second wave. I'm thinking, because I got the first wave completely. I bought the fighters pass, but I didn't get the second wave. I still need to get like Sora and everybody else.
Well, if you're not playing Smash that much anymore, then I don't think you need to worry.
Yeah, I'm going to see Jaden soon though, and
I thought. Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Go see Puss in Boots of him.
Well, then just buy Sora. He's like worth like I think like $7 or something like that.
Probably. I want to get Sephiroth too though. There's some of them are pretty good. Yeah. We're also straying off topic.
Right. I forgot. Anyway, my main point about we do this a lot with these host videos.
Kind of crazy. We do this in videos in general. To be fair, our news aren't much better.
We do this with the news videos because we focus on other stuff in the back of our mind, and we just really want to play the game.
Here it's a lot more like relaxed, where we're kind of just talking. We do that anyways, but we have stuff to talk about the other time. Here, it's just our thoughts.
Right.
So it kind of gets into the podcast mindset where we're going about 5 different tangents now.
Which I
before we
mean,
come-
like that's actually how I'm like trying to market these hopes videos. They're meant to be podcasts.
Well, that's fair, and I think that's a good point.
Mhm.
It's who doesn't like a good podcast, especially about something as fun as Fire Emblem
Yes.
and Fire Emblem DLC.
Right. So
Who doesn't love
basically,
opinions?
just to wrap up my point, I just hope that the DLC is like worth it in my opinion. So far, they have made the DLC look very appealing, and it seems to be for the first race so far. I don't know about the other ways, but so far they've made a good first impression compared to Three Houses.
We'll see how it is.
And,
Does that mean I go?
Huh?
Does that mean I go now?
Yes, you're up now because I've said all my thoughts about the DLC.
Okay. My thing that I was really going to say. Oh fuck. Well, I have a few things. I'm going to start with. I have a few hopes. I think I jumbled them up, but I'm going to start with the one that I remember first, and it's kind of less important, but still a decent value sort of thing. I hope that the weapons like are somewhat interesting. Not the best way for me to explain it is I don't want it to be as brain dead as late game. You just get like in Awakening, like late game, you just get Forged Brave weapons maxed out in like what literally just a certain way. Like it's cookie cutter for every fucking character, and that also bled into.
Wait, do you mean like for wait? Do you mean for like the enemies or for like the players?
The players. I think that enemies. I hope that enemies have good weapon types and good weapon variety, and I hope that it steps up. Fire Emblem's been good with this over time, where they step them up at a good rate, and by endgame, they have really good weapons, like silver weapons, killer weapons, siege tomes, like all of this shit that you have been like kind of scrounging up and looking for and hoping to have by endgame to combat the enemies that have it at endgame. So that's one thing. But to add to that, I just hope that the weapons we get in the game, because we haven't seen all of them yet, are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting and not just like shit.
Yeah.
I want it to be where it's interesting to use these weapons, and there's some interesting concepts, because bringing the blades and the pole axes and shit back would be really cool, because it's like you get the extra strength, get a little extra weight, little extra like less hit, like that's a good trade-off. The blades that we saw though, like I think it was the Iron Blade.
Yeah, it can't follow up, and if you initiate combat, foe goes first. Actually.
Yeah, so like that in and of itself is kind of a problem. It makes it where it's definitely more of an enemy phase sort of thing, and also really sucks for people that have a higher weight stat or build stat, I should say. But you can still like use the weapon decently fast because they get fucked. That being said, for blades and like poleaxe and shit, it's always sort of been that unless you have super high speed, you're probably going to get weighed down way too much to actually outspeed anybody. So a lot of times it's just that one meaty hit. That granted, like as I mentioned, like people like Hector and FE7, like they could use that shit better. Whereas like Ellawood in FE7, it's like probably can't. So don't fuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that Surge might not be the best weapon, especially later on. But I think that it's a neat idea. I think that it's cool to say like, hey, it's based solely on the mage's magic stat, and then it has infinite hit, so you don't need to worry about that. Because I didn't want another thing with like a basic tome, like a basic spell that's Nosferatu in Echoes, where like 0 might, 60 hit, it heals, but still, it sucks. So you don't really want to use it as a spell. You want to use it as a oh fuck thing, or like a counterattack thing, because that's what it's gonna be. But I don't know. I think that so far the weapons we've seen, there's variety. They're bringing a lot of stuff back from different games, and that's not just to include the weapons that you'll find in the armory and shops. It's also the emblem weapons, and I think a lot of them have good design. because we've seen some of them with the Mercurius, Falchion, the Rapiers, like the Rider's Bane, the Brave Lance, which for some reason is an emblem weapon, which makes me question whether Brave weapons will actually be in the game normally. It's a little odd. Still waiting on that. And the Holy Weapons, like Tearfing, for instance. Woo! Like, all of these are super cool, and I can't wait to see what their effects are. A lot of them seem to be very true to the games, if not entirely based on stats, because obviously Sigurd's Tearfing isn't going to give an extra 20 res. It gives 5, which is still a lot. But I think that it's really interesting to then bring all of these games' weapons together into this one game, which, you know, paying an homage and, like, celebrating Fire Emblem over the years with all of their different games and all of their different playstyles. And kind of putting it in a box, shaking it up, and say, let's see how this works. Hopefully it's balanced. That's the goal. The emblem weapons are generally going to be better than what you're going to be using to begin with. The fact that nothing has any uses means that I'm worried about the kind of balance of the weapons and whether it's like the normal ones will be too weak and then the emblem ones will be too strong. Because the way I see it, the fact that you have infinite use weapons and you're not having huge drawbacks like in Fates so far, it seems like they're just not going to be very good and like super high quality in general when compared to the emblem weapons that are really good, but you're only going to use them for a limited amount of time as long as your form is up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's your uses thing. Like that's your limited shit, you know? Like that's the resource that you have to spend and like use properly.
Mm-hmm.
So to make a really long tangent, super short, I want the weapons to be interesting. I don't want it to be where you just use emblem weapons and that's your entire strategy, and I don't want it to be where you just use the best weapons as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, because like you said at the beginning of your hope, because then you're just going to be going brain dead in the late game.
Exactly, and that's not fun at all. I like having variety. I like not just having an inventory full of one thing, because it makes me feel like I can make this unit a generalist.
Yeah.
And like somebody who can take on multiple scenarios rather than just saying, you're going to do this, you are this one chess piece, this one pawn, and I'm going to move forward and forward and forward, and anything that's in front of you, we're just going to kill. And that's it, really.
Yeah, because I definitely... That's why I think like us playing on the hardest difficulty, even though I don't think it's a good idea, I do think I'm going to like, because I really am hoping that the maps that we play on in this game will definitely engage my brain.
I hope that it kind of tickles the strategy parts of our brain and really just makes us think, where we just spend 30 minutes on one turn. That's what I want out of this. It is. I want that.
Yeah, like, no, because I definitely do. Because that's something that I loved doing during our Three Houses LP on Blue Lions, where we definitely had to like think about our moves and like, you know, we both like talked strategy. That was something that I loved about our Three Houses playthrough.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. So I'm really hoping that we have that same level of fun when we play Engage, though. And so far, from the maps we've seen, I do think it's going to offer that.
I think that it'll be good. That's my true hope. And I really hope it is. That will also come back later. I'm going to tie into that probably my next hope, if anything. So, we'll get there.
Alright, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our third hope. Join us next time on the next episode for our second hope, which should be coming up soon. Bye now.